We're starting the recording. Good morning, y'all. This is Trish with Hip Homeschool Moms, and I am here with Rachael and Davis Carman.
Hello. Good morning.
They are back at home after a how many day? 12-day road trip.
12-day road trip with 4 teenagers. You have to add the with 4 teenagers at the end for the impact. I mean, it doesn't sound so bad, but 12 teenagers.
And one room.
It felt like 12
wow,
teenagers.
Oh my gosh.
And one room for a good portion of the middle of the trip.
That's true. Our reservations were not always accurate. And so at a couple of places, it was all 6 of us sharing one bathroom. Okay, so it would be challenging enough for 3 women, 2 teenagers and their mom to share one bathroom, but then throw in 2 teenage boys and a dad. That was challenging.
That's hilarious. And I feel your pain because we're doing the same thing as being on the road.
Yes, you are.
It's me with 3 boys, and it takes us 2 hours to use that bathroom and get everybody through showers every morning.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. Yeah, I can't imagine with 6 of y'all.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Any life lessons learned being on the road? I mean, do y'all come together? What do y'all do differently? What do y'all do differently? Do you still?
There was a good reminder. One of the things we've told ourselves as we do some of these trips to conferences is let's not just go do the conference. Right. That's the priority to serve the homeschoolers, but it does take a lot of time and energy. So we always try our best to make a point of seeing something in the vicinity, whether that's a museum, a park, or something local. We try not to eat anywhere that we can eat at home. So we try to eat at local places.
We do the same thing. I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
And so we had 2 consecutive homeschool conferences, one in Pasadena, California, and then one immediately following in Phoenix. And so in between, we went to Sequoia National Park and Yosemite National Park. And honestly, that was just a fabulous 4-day getaway in those 2 parks to just relax in some beautiful parts of God's creation, do some hiking, biking, be a tourist. It was a great break, and it really helped make the trip bearable because of the length of time. But even our kids, after when we got back, said, "Hey, Mom and Dad, that was one of the best trips we've done in a long time." So that was a good feedback.
Yeah, I love how you skip to the great part. So the lessons we learned.
I'm an optimist.
The lessons we learned. I'm the realist, sometimes called the pessimist. He's the optimist. I love you.
Yeah. So what did you learn?
That you shouldn't try to. No. No, I mean, something that Davis led us in this time. We haven't finished it yet, but we started on this trip specifically a study of the book of Colossians as a family. So for our family worship time, very intentional, very specific, very focused. And I'm going to tell you, it makes a difference when you're home to start your day that way. Wow. When you are all sharing a bathroom, it makes a difference. And yet, even in making a difference and setting a tone, there's still the intensity of the whole thing that you just can't avoid. And I guess the thing that I'm continually reminded of, and I think especially 12 days on the road with the kids, is as hard as it is, it's so worth it. Because I know, we'll tell people, or people will hear that we've done that, and they're like, "We would never do that. We would all kill each other." And I'm just back. I totally get that. And there were moments that, I just wanted to run screaming from the building or get on a different tour bus. But it's that intensity. The enemy is always trying to take your family apart. And I can name it 2 really specific times in the 12 days when you could just almost smell the sulfur in the air, when he was just right there trying desperately to discourage and steal the whole time you were together. I mean, when there's discussions and arguments over dumb things. I mean, and I guess as the parent, you can see that this is not about that. That's about this. Mm-hmm. They can't see that. But I'm sitting there just praying the whole time going, God, I know this is the enemy trying to steal our time together, trying to destroy our relationships, trying to take away from what, we're trying to focus on you, and he's still right here. And so I guess that's the biggest thing to me is parenting isn't for wimps, and neither is road trips with your kids. I mean, But that doesn't mean you don't do it. And I
right.
guess that's what I would want to say to all the parents. There was a commercial a few years ago that, go on this cruise together, family vacation. And then it talked about, here's what the dad can do. Here's what the mom can do. Here's what the daughter can do. Here's what the son can do. All separately. And I'm like, okay, so what are you doing together? Riding to the airport? I mean, that's not a family vacation. But I think a lot of us shrink from it because it gets hard. And I guess I would just say, let's not do that. I get it, but it's worth it to fight it out. I guess that's what I would say.
And to not expect perfection. For instance, with this Colossians study, I divided the book into 10 different sections for 12 nights. So I already gave ourselves, 2 that we could miss.
There you go.
And we didn't even do that. We got 8 of the 10 in because we missed a couple other days because of
circumstances,
difficult mornings, circumstances, schedules. Some people had to be at the booth at a certain time, and we didn't really factor that in. So you just keep moving along, but there was a plan, and it did help. But the enemy definitely always likes to try and throw wrenches into the system and mess things up.
And I totally, believe me, we're getting that too here. It's just one of us, me, one parent and 3 boys. But in general, it's been a great trip. So God has showed up in so many places. Even just down to parking places. Yesterday in Sedona, I'm driving this huge Ford Expedition, and everybody in Sedona, if y'all have been to Sedona, it's a little bit hippie. Maybe that's why I like
a little bit
hippie. I love it. I love Sedona. One of those weird. I love Sedona.
Everybody's off the grid.
That's right.
That's right. But they drive these little bitty cars, and so they're not the parking places are not designed for my Ford Expedition.
Right.
Even down to finding the absolute perfect parking place where I didn't even have to navigate except just back and forth straight in. I was like, oh my gosh. So it was amazing. God has really been here, and I'm afraid of windy, curvy mountain roads in a Ford Expedition. If I'm in a little VW Bug, I could get through there in no time. But in a Ford Expedition, it's different. And we're going down these narrow passes the whole way. I'm just praying through it. God, I know you got me. Get me through it. Get me through it. But
you're my guardrail.
Exactly. And I don't want to miss some of those moments. We're making memories, and Slide Rock is where we were headed. And it was about 8 miles down this very narrow road. It's cliffs on one side. And I'm going on my side, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is crazy. But anyway, we made it. We did our Slide Rock, and we came home. But God has really showed up, and I love that. And I pointed out every single time. I'm like, He got me through that. So are y'all through with this the convention circuit now?
Are we through? I think we're through.
We personally are done. We have a team in Houston this weekend.
Okay.
But we are complete.
Oh man, they've locked up on me. Hello. They'll come back. And Leanne was supposed to be here, and she's gone. So it's just me. So I'm going to pause the recording for a moment, and we will be back. Oh, they're back.
Anything we wouldn't have known we were gone. It looked like we were still there.
Yeah, so
I know. I paused the recording, and now I started it back. So we're good. So we were talking about being on the road and finishing, and you were saying
on the road again. Oh, in 2 weeks, our team gets together to debrief.
And we'll have our annual conference debrief, go over all the good and bad, what worked, what didn't, what we want to change and adjust. And we always have, a great list of brainstorm ideas, and we'll, make some adjustments, as we already start preparing for next year.
Yeah.
Wow. I know. It's an intense. So when y'all start conventions, it really starts in about April, right?
March.
No. Well, we have conference training in February. So by February, or actually 2 months before that, as they prepare for conference training, we know every conference we're going to. We divided up the teams, and we had a plan. And then in February, we get everybody together to explain the new plan for this year and any adjustments we've made. And then often there's a conference by the end of February.
Yeah.
Wow.
Certainly early March.
So are y'all meeting a lot of new homeschoolers? What are y'all seeing? What's your feedback you're getting from the road?
Oh, I love it. Just their stories of how God got them here. I mean, in the most amazing circumstances. And 9 out of 10 of the people that I meet, I don't know if this is true for you, but they haven't been dreaming about this since their teenage years and wanting to be married. They haven't always thought, someday I'll homeschool my kids. Most of them are like, I cannot believe we're doing this. Some of them I really don't want to, but I want to trust God more. It's just incredible to hear their journeys, how they got here, and how at the conferences, and this is the power of the conference. And so this is one of my passionate things. And Tricia and I've talked about this. Mm-hmm. I get the web and even what we're doing today. I mean, this is important and valuable and all of those things, but that face to face. I mean, real life, real time relationships and meeting these people. I just don't think you can replace that with even what we're doing today. I just think, and these parents come and they look around and they go, wow, these people look normal. I mean, these people look like me. These people look average, and I don't know what they thought we would have, like a third horn, or I don't know, because we already have 2. I don't know what they thought we would be green. I don't know what they thought, but when they come and they sit in these sessions, they're just blown away. And then the other thing too, is most of them the ones that will come and talk to me will say, oh, I thought this was going to be such a dry conference. I thought I was going to have to sit in session after session of how to homeschool my children. And I need to know how to homeschool my children because I don't know what I'm doing. But it has been totally different from that. This has all been spiritual. This has all been about faith. This has all been about trusting God. This hasn't been an educational conference. This has been a spiritual experience. And that's pretty powerful too, because that's what I'd like to shout from the hilltops is this is so much more than an educational choice. Yeah. To all the people who think this is just about, spelling and reading and writing. It's way beyond spelling, reading, and writing. And so it's neat to hear people who are just starting out or finished their first year and weren't sure they were going to do their second year.
That's right.
Say, I came this year thinking I needed something for science, and I got God and so much more. And that's awesome. That's really incredible.
Well, yeah. And it's amazing whether a family is just trying to decide whether or not to even begin this journey, whether they're 3, 4, 5 years into it and struggling and ready to quit, or even those that are 10 or 15 years down the road and they've had a couple really tough years, a teenager that just, challenged them to the nth degree. Mm-hmm. There always seems to be this thread of, how do I keep going? Why should I keep going? And this one mom said that she, like Rachel was saying, she almost felt like she was in church. And she said, I'm beginning to not like the messages because everything seems to be the Spirit convicting my heart, like it's spoken directly to me.
I understand that too, believe me.
Yeah.
Because this is a walk of faith in so many ways. You're forced to depend on God. You're forced to let go of yourself. And that's part of the paradigm shift that's uncomfortable for a lot of us. But once we realize that it's not just an academic decision, get a bunch of check marks and pick your curriculum and then hit autopilot. And suddenly it's a lifestyle, it's relating with your kids, and it's so much more than just the academics. And everything starts, all of life starts doing this and blending together. Then you're actually in a good place. And that's what we heard from a lot of families is that realization that this is a lifestyle decision that affects everything, and especially their walk of faith.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. What are you hearing from the parents that are their biggest concerns? Is there anything new, anything surprising that you're seeing and hearing?
I wouldn't say surprising, but I definitely heard a common thread these last 2 weekends about how important it is for the dad to own the school, to wave the banner of the school, to take ownership, and to basically say, I actually support what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so many dads find a hard time, well, what does it look like practically? And that's in many ways the wrong question, because the wife is typically going to do the lion's share of the work and carry the workload. But if a dad can carry the vast majority of the responsibility, then mom feels that support that she needs. She knows that dad has her back, and that makes a world of difference. I talked to several moms and dads who realized the dad was the stumbling block and the challenge in their school. And dad was working his way to get on board, or he made a decision right there at the conference. Okay, I realized that I'm the issue. I'm on board now. And so it was really interesting to watch people literally go through that process over the course of a weekend.
What a blessing, though, to be able to be a part of that, to help them walk through it, you know? I think that's something that's missing out there. Davis, you and I talked about that, is that place for the homeschool dad. So be watching. Mr. Davis might have something up his sleeve, right?
Yeah,
sure. I'm a homeschool dad.
That's right. That's right. So one of the things that I thoroughly enjoyed at this convention with y'all, because I got to go to this last convention with Apologia and do some of their social media for them, was getting to see your children in the booth and working and how involved they are. I guess I knew they were, but I guess it didn't dawn on me just how much they're involved. They're involved literally from setup to takedown and every aspect in between. So what a blessing, I think. And that's part of homeschooling to me. I see that y'all, you're training them, for the future, for business, for responsibility, etc. So
my one daughter was saying, I can see, I think, she also works at Chick-fil-A, so here in Charlotte. And she said she can really see how working at the booth and working at Chick-fil-A is really helping her in other areas of her life. So, I mean, I don't think she wants to do what she does at our booth as a sales rep for the rest of her life. But I do think there's value in contributing to what the family's doing. And since this is family owned and operated, I think it's a great opportunity for them to really get their head around it and participate in it. And at the end of the day, the parents come to our sessions, but they want to hear from our kids and see the kids.
Do they go down there and interview them? I'm curious.
I told them to. I said, you can ask the kids. And I said, you're not going to get a perfect story because we're not a perfect family. And I think it's important for them to see that. And the boys, I think you saw this, but the boys, I think they learned to juggle this weekend with Uncle Larry. So they were juggling balls. And then because that's not enough for either of them, they started juggling where they would toss the balls to each other and the other person would start juggling. And this one mom said, okay, they're boys. And I just thought, okay, that's exactly what she needs to see. She doesn't need to see a couple of, boys all pinned up and polished and their hair in perfect place. She needed to see boys that were boys. And our boys are boys. Our girls are girls, and we're a family and we're imperfect. But I really do believe we're pursuing God and trying to walk in his grace and by his strength. So that's exciting to see him do it.
Well, one of the things that you just mentioned, and I skipped around for a second, but coming back to the dad was one of the things that you mentioned is the dad being involved. But I also think he sets the compass for the biblical worldview and helping to set that foundation for the family. I know sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes that's mom that's doing it. But y'all are doing, Davis, you've written a ton of new books that are children, preschoolers that are literally helping set the tone for the worldview early on. So the Psalm one is just adorable. Tell us about it. You don't have one, do you? I wish I had one. I would show it. See, you should have given me one at the booth, right?
Yeah,
I didn't even get an autographed copy of Psalms.
You didn't get an autographed copy. I apologize.
That's sad.
Yeah, my new book, Psalms to Know Early, actually was released at the Arizona conference. So we had a book signing.
Yes, it was fun.
Sold it for the first time. So that was fun to see it physically.
Do you have that?
Yeah, if you go back to the bookcase. She's going to get one out of the bookcase.
Oh, good.
But it's the fourth.
So cute.
It's the fourth book I've written for preschoolers. The first one is Good Morning God. It's based on Deuteronomy 6, story about a little 4 or 5-year-old boy.
Here it is.
Isn't it cute? The characters are adorable, y'all. And there's a story about those. We'll get there in a second.
Right. And then the second book I wrote is A Light for My Path. It's an ABC book. But how many ABC books are beautifully illustrated and based on God's word? And this one's based on Psalm 119. And of course, you were very fond of the fact that you can actually learn the Hebrew alphabet with that book as well.
And it's my favorite psalm. So yeah,
right,
you really
it's Psalm 119 is an acrostic of the Hebrew alphabet. So there you go.
Yes.
And then the third book I have is In the Beginning. It's based on the creation account in Genesis 1 and 2. And then, of course, this one, Psalms to Know Early. There's 150 Psalms in the entire book. So we couldn't put all of them in this preschool book, but we do have 27 with mainly these are Psalms that we're all familiar with. But so many of us, even as adults, couldn't place where exactly is that phrase that I'm familiar with. As the deer pants for water, so my soul longs for God. We're aware of that. We probably know it's a psalm and not a proverb, but what number is that? Very few people know that's 42. So part of the goal here is to help the young kids fall in love with Psalms, connect the Psalm numbers to these familiar phrases that are that set the tone for our heart. And then I have 3 questions for each Psalm, just to help the parent guide through a discussion, have the child think a little bit more in depth about what is the meaning of the Psalm. And so it's beautifully illustrated. My son is actually an artist.
Oh, and they're so adorable. Okay, so this is one of my favorite pictures. So any of you who have sons, you will love this one. Look at this. Look at that little boy.
Yeah.
Rump in the air. He just fell where he landed, and he's probably snoring. And all the pictures make me smile. And obviously it's because my son worked on them, but it's also, they're just, there's energy and emotion in each picture, and they're so dear.
That little boy with his rump in the air, that's when you walk up as a mom and not spank them, but walk up and tap them on their little rear end and go, "I love you so much." I know.
It was fun doing this project with my son. This is the first in a series of messages to know early. The next one will be truths to know early. And so he'll be illustrating that particular book during his senior year this next school year. So probably won't come out next year, but the year after that. And then there's a couple other secret projects for the preschoolers that are in the works right now that I'll leave some anticipation for.
Yay! Well, I think they're adorable. I'm thrilled with it, and I think the fact that you're bringing your children in a different way, not just working in the booth, although they work in the booth and everywhere else, and I'm sure he did too when he was still at home. But now you're bringing him in a different way. That's really actually in their career. This is his focus. He's going to school for animation. So how fun is that?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
I know. So, and Rachael, of course, we had her book there. It was so exciting. I got to stand in her booth. Of course, I'm working with Rachael on a book club. Yes. We have a book club going right now for how many times? See, I have mine on the road with me. See?
There you go.
See, I'm almost done. See how close I am to being done?
Oh, wow.
Are y'all the type that you use anything and everything you can get your hands on for a bookmark?
Yeah.
Okay, me too. Yeah. But, so anyway.
Key to the room. Yeah.
That's what this one is. This is McKay's. This is from when I went to visit Leanne. So
okay.
I'm thinking of you every time I read it. But seriously, one of the things that I absolutely loved was I was in most of Rachel's presentation sessions in Arizona, was going to the booth and seeing how many women you touched. And yes, they were in there buying the book. And yes, that was exciting. Usually both books. But one of the things I loved doing was asking them. I started interviewing them. I said, "So were you in one of her sessions?" And they're like, "Yes." I said, "Which one?" So the one that everybody loved, now they loved them all, but the one that everybody came back and said, "I had to come get this book," was that child.
I know.
Everybody loved that child.
I know. That's really striking a chord. I started that presentation last year.
Yes.
And then brought it into this year. And I don't know when I'll not do that one, because that seems to be the one that just rings with everybody. I mean,
yeah, when I was in this conference at the session with Rachael, I have to tell y'all that at the very end, Rachael wanted to pray over the families. And so literally the entire room, probably 150 people, maybe more, everybody was on the floor, on their knees, praying. And there were dads that were in there sobbing, just sobbing, that Rachael had touched them so much with this conversation about that child. And we're probably going to, Rachael, we have to plan something. We're probably going to do something about that. We're going to do something. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be. It may be a webinar. It may be a blab that's just exclusively about that child.
Well, I've even thought about that because I think what would be really good, I don't get to unpack some of the practical things in that session. I tag them on the end. It's like one of the last slides. So I think if we wanted to do something like that, Trish, do some practical things you can do for and with that child, I think that would be really valuable.
And I also think we will probably do some articles. She'll probably do a series on this on her blog. So, that'll probably be your next project after we finish the book club.
It's
so well received. So if y'all have an opportunity, you can actually go out to AFHE, which is the Arizona Family Homeschool. I don't even know what AFHE.
Home Educators.
Educators. Okay. So if you go to their website, they have a link where you can go buy the audio from all the sessions. So, and actually I'll put it up on Rachel's author page for y'all.
Yeah, please do that. Thanks. That'd be great.
I will do that. But it's the sessions were so powerful, y'all. So if y'all have a chance to go to a conference, I highly recommend that y'all go to them. Like Rachel was talking about earlier, we need each other. We need to be around.
We really do.
Yeah.
Those folks and that prayer time and just the personal touch. And I think we really still need that. And I don't want us to fall prey because like I said, I think the internet's an invaluable tool, but I think it can't be a substitute for real fellowship with one another. So
I agree. I agree. And those hugs. I got a ton of pictures of folks over there hugging you. They want to get to Rachel and hug her.
It was a real blessing. Yeah, it was a real blessing. It really was.
It was for them too. I could tell. It was very powerful. Yeah. So one of the things that I heard a lot, just milling around and listening to folks talk, was there was a lot of conversation about the culture and what's changing in America right now. What did y'all hear? And what do you think about the future of homeschooling now that the culture is really getting so worldly?
Well, it was interesting in my very last workshop in California, where there was considerable discussion on the current events and cultural issues at stake. Literally, before I went to my last workshop, I was on my phone and read an article about a pastor in Bakersfield, California, and I shared it with the audience. He was on the public school board, and part of that was his ministry to the community to try and help influence change in a positive way at the local school level. And of course, this article was by him. He had just announced that he was stepping down from the board because they had passed an agreement that they were going to support the whole LGBTQ policies and bathroom gender issue policies. And he said, as people said, no, we need you to stay in the fight. He said, I've been in the fight, but now I've lost, and I cannot support the direction that we've actually voted on that I would have to support as a board member.
Right.
And so I thought it was key. He said, I'm not leaving the fight. I'm just redirecting my efforts. And that reminds me a lot of what we're doing personally by investing in the homeschool community. And that is, the homeschool community is very good soil.
Yeah.
Families are parents are turning their hearts to their children. Children are turning their hearts to their parents. And there's strong relational activity that's going on. The church, the mission of the church is actually being supported better in homeschooling families than anywhere else because they spend a lot of time together. Moral and religious instruction is important and valuable and a high priority for those families.
Right.
And so it reminded me that all of us who have made the decision to homeschool, we're in the battle. Yeah. We're in it in a very serious way, and this is how we're spending our time. And with the issues going on today, I honestly can't understand how anybody could send their kids to public school. And over the last 3 years, my tone has gotten stronger and bolder as we've seen, Supreme Court decisions and other decisions and policies and battles going on, to where it's just gotten to the place where the water is boiling now, and you're either going to be part of the stew or you're going to get out.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Rachel talked about it in one in her sessions, and I know you talked about it in your session. And I really feel like there's going to be a huge insurgence over, the more the culture keeps changing, the more we're seeing it. And I'm interested, that's really intriguing at the California, because, California is not exactly known to be a conservative state, right? So you were hearing that in California. What an encouragement.
It was encouraging. And I'm celebrating every time I can go into a gender specific restroom.
Yeah. Amen.
I think we all need to be just thanking God. And I'm just...
and the store managers.
And the store. Yeah, I agree. Hear it from us. I agree. I just think that we need to make sure we're not taking those things for granted, but praising God for his protection and taking advantage of the opportunities we have to stand for that, because I think it's worth standing for. And for the next generation, we need to have that voice and say something. And I agree with Davis. I really hope, I guess this is my prayer. I think a lot of people are appalled by these things that are going on right now, but I hope that appalled leads to action, because I think it's really easy, even if a school board adopts that at the end of the year. So let's say they adopted it like at late May, early June of this last year. I think it's easy over the summer to just, it's not that bad, and justify it. Justify it and say, we've got to be a light. There's not a mission board on the planet that accepts teenagers as missionaries. Nobody would say that teenagers are ready or prepared or experienced or discerning or wise enough to go on the mission field. And I think the public schools are some of the most intense. I think they're more intense than Turkey, Istanbul, and Iran or Iraq. And we're sending them in there every day. And I can say this because for the last 2 years, I've gone on mission with high school seniors. And I have heard their stories about things that are going on in schools in my city, which I've always thought was pretty conservative. And they all know transgender kids. They all know the whole hookup community and culture. They all have had to read horrific things. They have all been taught evolution. And these are kids that go to church every Sunday. And I'm saying, yay, but you're in the system. And already, I had some good conversation with them, and I said, they would say something. I'd say, you're bending. Don't bend.
Good.
Don't bend. And they would go, but Miss Carman, he's really a nice person. I'm like, don't bend. I'm glad he's a nice person, and he needs you to love his soul. But that does not mean that his behavior is acceptable before a holy God. And I think this, they're in that system all the time. So
it's so easy to go along to get along.
It is. It's
easy. And that's exactly what they want.
Exactly. So I hope, my prayer is, we hear it all the time. Parents say, oh, I think that's what was really good. And I wish I could do that. And I'm just like, it's so much less about what we're capable of. I mean, almost not even a part of what we're capable of. It's all about being available and obedient to him and allowing him to do something amazing. So my prayer is that parents really will respond with their feet and bring those precious children home, no matter what age they are. And that we, Trish, you and your ministry, Leanne, you and your ministry, that we will respond lovingly and graciously as they do so and support them. And what is a terrifying, I think the schools are terrifying, but I think it is all, we need to acknowledge that it's scary to bring them home too. And so what can we do to support those parents when they do? How can we really be there for them and encourage them as they do it? Because I think they're doing the right thing, and I hope they will.
Yeah, that was a message. I remember talking to several moms at the end of California where this seemed to be a bigger part of the topic of discussion. And that was these parents were crystal clear that they couldn't send their kids to public school. But as Rachel just said, homeschooling was still daunting, and they were still very nervous about, okay, exactly what do I do when the Monday in September comes? And so all the things that moms felt when they started homeschooling, all the anxiety, the lack of that I can do this, how's this going to actually work? Those are natural. It's a paradigm shift. It's a complete lifestyle change. You got to wipe the slate clean. So that is all real. It's scary to homeschool. It's hard to homeschool. But as we're talking about it, families by larger and larger numbers, and I hope really big numbers this fall, are finally convinced that they got to get out of the boiling water.
Yeah.
We're all going to get killed in this. It's going to be a disaster to, for the spirit, heart, and soul of our kids if we just leave them in the system.
Well, and I even want to say, I hear from parents all the time that are broken because they've finally taken Susie and Johnny out of school, and that Susie and Johnny were asking them to homeschool them for years before. Boy, I'm here to tell you, if your kids are asking you to homeschool, I mean, even if they're not, you're the parent and you're the authority, and you need to drive a stake in the ground. And this is what we do. This is how we disciple our kids. This is what our family is about, is focusing on God. But I mean, I'm here to tell you, especially if they are asking you to, there is something behind that request.
That's right.
It's a love for parents. It's a love for family. It's an abuse. It's something going on that you don't know about, that they don't have any other language to communicate to you. And, you know, I hear too many stories about parents that are like, I cannot believe I waited. And
I did. I didn't do it. I know.
It's heartbreaking.
I know. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think it's so intimidating when you first start, and I think parents need to remember that the first year is awful. I mean, we're just gonna lay it out there. The first year is the hardest year. It's the year of second guessing yourself. It is the year of, you know, you don't really understand quite yet your children's learning style, and so you're trying everything and feeling overwhelmed by everything, and we get that. That's exactly what it is. That first year is hard, but I promise, in Davis's presentation, Davis, you talked about that. You talked about there's a bell curve, a cycle, that if they make it through, what was it, 4 years that they were in the club?
Well, yeah, in North Carolina, we have really good statistics for homeschoolers, and one that I'll start with is just the sheer numbers. And so 2 years ago, North Carolina became the first state in the country to actually have more homeschool students than private school students. Yay! That was a great big milestone that we reached. And of course, that trend's continued for the last 2 years. And so as of right now, there's roughly 105,000 private school students and over 175,000 homeschool students. So you can see how the growth has just changed. And 2 years ago, they were roughly the same. But the stat that I'm referring to is they looked at every what I call class of homeschoolers. When a group of brand new folks start in a given year, what happens to them after their first, second, third, and fourth year? And here's what is very consistent. After the first year, 20% quit homeschooling for whatever reason. After the second year, another 20% drop out. After the third, 10%. So now we're down to half of the group. And then after the fourth, about another 5%, and then it levels off. So basically, after 3 or 4 years, a little less than half of that same group of people are continuing to homeschool and pretty much hang on. So the way I like to say it is, if you can make it 3 or 4 years, then you're in the club.
That's right.
So it's a message to hang in there.
Isn't it amazing that y'all are in North Carolina and that it's North Carolina that's setting these trends?
Yeah,
I don't know that
correlation, right?
No, the other thing though too is I think that first year, your expectation. I think the reason somebody quit the first and second year is they think that they're doing something. I mean, I think a large majority of people think, okay, I'm going to do this to honor God, and I think they get that call and all of that, and they want to do this for their hearts and minds of their kids, and they start out and it's hard, and they think just because they were going to do it for God that it should have been easier, and I think that a lot of people, that's their checkout point. They're like, well, if this really was what God wanted me to do, then it would have been easier and it would have been more fun. And my kids, and it has nothing to do with it. Ease and comfort have nothing to do with this equation. But I think that's why a lot of people quit.
You know, I used to think that as a Christian. I used to think that if it was easy, then that meant that God had flung the doors open and it was time for me to just, dance on through, right? And in reality, I think it's the exact opposite. As I've gotten older, maturity or something or life experiences has taken over. And I really think that the harder it is, the more you now know you're on the right path, because Satan's throwing everything at you.
Yeah.
Because he wants to prevent you from getting to that end goal.
Yeah.
So I have definitely shifted, and I hope that that, you know, I mean, even though we say homeschooling is hard that first year, it's doable. I mean, we're still here, right?
Oh, yeah.
20 years later, 4 graduates.
Right. Yeah.
That's right. Y'all are definitely the veterans. So speaking of all these graduates, what does it look like? How does it feel to see children going off and having careers in college? And
okay, so I need to write this post too, because I think I'm going to do it. I've got 2 new sessions brewing for next conference season.
Oh, good.
One of them is how not to raise a narcissist.
Oh boy! Will you please go ahead and do that now?
Yeah, I think that's sort of drifting in, and so I want to do that. But the other one is I want to do a session entitled "And Then They Were Gone."
Yes, because, I agree.
You know, where we are now and the transition we're in now with them leaving, you know, at least during the school year, and then coming back in the summer, some of them and some of them not. I mean, we're in a whole different area, and I'm going to tell you, it is hard. Preschool was hard when, you know, you were the only one that could do anything, and you did more character study every day than you did anything else. That's its own challenge. And then junior high, which none of us would redo for any amount of money, it's still hard. Even, you know, you're still gawky and uncoordinated and awkward, even if you're not in a building called junior high. Right. But I'm here to tell you, you've invested all this time and emotion and love, and I mean, just so much into these kids. And God has shown up and shown off in 1,000 different ways, and He's knit your hearts together, and you love them, and you know them in a way that you wouldn't have if they'd gotten on the little yellow school bus. And now it's time for them to go and do what you've both dreamed. You know, you and that child have dreamed about this day. You know, what would God do and how would He provide? And each one of our kids that have gone and where they've gone and what they've done is just a story unto itself of God's goodness and faithfulness. I mean, His direction, His clear voice in just every one of their unique situations. And then they're gone, and navigating not having everybody home has been, and I don't think it matters if you have 14, 26 or 3 or 2 or 1. It's navigating your emotion and their emotion, and the ones that stay back, their emotion. It's been really, I told somebody at the conference, I really feel like I've been blindsided. I knew they were going to go. I mean, I wanted them to pursue God and go and do what He had planned. But I'm here to tell you, on impact, it was like I never saw it coming, the fallout and everything. So there's lots to rejoice about, you know, even as they're gone, you know, God's movement and provision and how they're seeing God and how they're getting to live out what we talked about and what they're experiencing, and the phone calls that go on for 2 and 3 hours when they're processing, you know, a culture that's really pretty foreign to them called college or work. That's powerful and a world. It's powerful and glorious, but it is substantially different. And I don't profess to say that I could, in a session, prepare people for it, but I think starting a conversation about it could be very valuable.
And, you know, for us, homeschool moms especially, when our children, I mean, we spend every waking moment with our children. We're with them, you know, 24/7, 365 days a year. We don't, you know, have time away. So when they leave, there's a visible physical, you know, gap, but there's also that emotional and spiritual gap, you know, because you're used to being so connected to them. So I can imagine, I think that is it's definitely an opportunity for you to speak into some of these families, because a lot of moms are starting to experience that, you know, the not necessarily the empty nest yet, but just where, you know, birds are starting to fly out and the nest is starting to look littler and littler, you know, so I think that there is a opportunity there. I personally am now starting to see it. I have a 16-year-old, and the thought of it is like, I can't imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so what's on the agenda? Y'all are going to Disney.
We are
celebrating 30 years of
wow.
bliss, lots of memories.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to.
So what are you going to do? I'm serious. You have a child in Disney, right?
Yeah. So that's really a large part of why we decided to go there, because our son Anderson got an internship. He had to audition. Actually, he's character actor there, and so he's only got a few more weeks. And you know what? To tag off what we were just talking about, when they're gone. Yes, it's our 30th anniversary, but we miss him, and we can see him a little bit while we're there, so we can kind of kill two birds with one stone. And that's just a glorious thing. So, we get to go see him, and then he'll be home for about a month before he goes back, and then Molly goes back, but we also get to go see our granddaughter. So that's going to be great. Yeah, so I get to be with her for a week. So
that'll be 2 weeks from now.
I get to be Coco for a whole week.
That's right. Rachel's nickname when she's grandma is Coco.
That's right.
So we're going to start calling her Coco.
Okay.
As you get more and more grandchildren.
I know, right? I just become that.
That will just be a national presence.
Yeah.
Coco's life,
That's right. That's right.
I can see it. So you're going to Disney. You're going to celebrate 30 years. Yeah. As a homeschooling family, what are your words of wisdom to families out here? I mean, you've been so involved from moment one, and mom is, wow, Rachel, you are all in. So what's some words of wisdom for a family that's thinking about coming in to homeschooling?
I would say, step out and trust God, and don't try to figure it all out, and don't try to make it all make sense. Do it because it's the right thing to do, because it honors God and because it's good for your family and for your children. I don't believe that families are democracies where the kids get a vote. I believe they are ordained by God to be led by mom and dad, which means mom and dad do what's best for the family. And I think children need us to do that. I give this example, and I'm not here to argue about immunizations, because that's not the point. The point of that, when our kids need medical attention, they don't vote on it.
That's right.
We say, we're going to take care of you. And I think that's one of the things that I think a lot of parents shrink from, because I don't know what the kids would think. Well, we're not asking. And so we're doing this because we know that it honors God. We know that it grows his kingdom, and we know that it's right for our family. So I would say step out, hold hands with your husband, step out and honor God, and trust that he's going to do something amazing. Not easy, not always something that we can understand, but enjoy it. Enjoy snuggling with your kids. Enjoy reading with your kids. Enjoy discovering his creation and his nature and his world. And don't overcomplicate it. Just start slow and enjoy every day. Enjoy getting to know your kids in a way that you wouldn't have gotten to know them. And just do it. Don't overthink it.
Yeah.
One thing you said that I want to sneak in here is, and don't forget to be mom. I think we forget to be a family and mom. And you mentioned that at the conference, and I want to stick that in, because I think that's really important to still be mom.
Yeah.
Well, what I would say is, in a lot of ways, a repeat of what Rachel said, rephrased a little bit differently. When we first started homeschooling, we went to the only 3 people we knew who homeschooled in the world. And we asked them, what do we do, on Monday? And they said, just relax, sit down, and read to the kids. Right. And, we politely responded, thanks, that's great advice. But really, what do we really do on Monday? and so
it's not that easy, is it?
Knowing that would be the reaction of anybody today just starting. It's interesting that that's still the same advice now that Rachel and I give people just starting. Sit down.
And they can do that right now. Exactly. That doesn't even have to wait till
sit down and relax, take a deep breath, get a good book, snuggle up on the couch, and just relate to the kids, get to know them, and do lots of reading. It almost sounds too easy. Yeah, it almost sounds too easy. In some ways, it can even sound lazy. But that is the paradigm shift. It's feeling the freedom that you're in charge now. And reading is how most of us learn anyway. So learn to love reading by doing lots of it together. And then
reading's the foundation. If you
it is.
can't read, everything else is a huge monster challenge.
Right.
So, yeah.
And then one other that I'll touch on that Rachel did mention is get outside.
Yeah.
Explore God's creation, but specifically outside.
Yes.
Because too many kids have only one outlet, and it's literally an outlet. They got to be connected to electricity and Wi-Fi. And it's very tempting for a parent to just, shove an iPad in a kid's face. Or even when we were growing up, and I'm sure it's still a temptation today, to throw in a movie. And, okay, everybody's quiet and settled down. There's a place for that, but let those be intentional moments, not filler moments. Let the filler moments be outside. Explore God's creation, run around, exercise, discover the world, because parenting itself is hard work. So don't take the easy way out, with movies and tablets. Let your discipline be real and intentional, but let the kids play and have what is sometimes referred to as the lazy, hazy days of childhood.
That's right. Rachel talked about that in one of her sessions was, snuggle. Don't, get on that couch and snuggle. So I love that, and it is that easy, y'all, really, especially when they're little.
Indeed.
It really is that easy.
It really
is
that easy.
Talk about it. You can have all kinds of great conversations around great books. So.
And just live life together. Take them to the.
That's right. That's right. You talk about that on your Facebook page today is talk about the grocery store, and I think they locked up again. So Leanne, good having you back. I'm sure they'll pop back in here in a second.
Yeah.
So Leanne was having technical difficulties this morning. So so we'll see if Rachel and Davis pop back in. Hopefully they will. Hopefully they hear me.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
There they go. They're come back in now. Let me unlock it. I had locked it. Unlock. They can come back in now. So what are you doing today?
Oh, not much. We're I'm just doing school this morning, and probably taking Mike to the doctor this morning.
Oh yeah.
So sicky.
You're around homeschoolers. Most of us. That's something that we didn't talk about with them, but Leanne and I both are year-round homeschoolers, and we're still going. Chase has started his dual enrollment class.
Yes.
And literally until it started last Monday, we did not have access to it till yesterday.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, we have all kinds of catching up to do.
Yeah.
But it looks like we have lost Rachael and Davis, and I hate that, but it was almost over anyway. So,
Oh, wait.
Oh, there they are. There they are.
Yay. Awesome.
So I'm getting a text. I wonder if that's them popping in. Let's see. Weird. There you go.
I had a full battery, so I have, and it says I got 20% over, but it stopped. It stopped as though my battery ended. I don't know.
Isn't that weird? See, this is the luxury of live video, right? Yeah. We get to experience all this stuff. But that's okay. So we're almost at the end. I was just going to ask you, for your final thoughts, if if you had anything else you wanted to share with our audience.
Yes, in the darkness.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I'm in the dark too.
I've been saying it at conferences all year, but I can tell everybody the secret to homeschooling.
What?
Drum roll. The secret is prayerful perseverance. It's not a curriculum. It's not a formula. It's not a schedule. It's none of that. And we sell curriculum. Okay, so there you have it.
There's keeping it real, right?
Putting one foot prayerfully in front of the other and keeping on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And determining that you're doing this. That's really, really the key and the secret.
I agree.
And not expecting it to be perfect, because it's not going to be. There was a commercial a few years ago, life is messy, clean it up.
That's right.
We always need to know life is messy and God cleans it up. And Christ is the great Redeemer. but we're responsible to keep on keeping on. So I hope everyone who watches this has a great year. We're here to support you in any way through my blog or through Apologia. If there's a question you have, we'll have Facebook parties through the year to interact and answer your questions. But if something comes up otherwise, please message us or jump on our Facebook pages. I would love to help or encourage anything that I can do to support you.
Before we leave, let's tell, because Davis has a blog, you have a blog, and of course, Apology has a blog. So we have all these different avenues for them to get in touch with y'all. So share what your blogs are.
Yeah, so mine is homeschoolcastles.com. And you can go there. I got a new article coming up on Monday, which is largely my takeaways from the last 2 conferences and feedback I got from folks who are, homeschooling right now.
Yep. And he's sort of the dad perspective. So he's going to bring, it really doesn't talk hardly at all about Apologia. He is definitely coming in from a dad perspective. So just so y'all know, Homeschool Castles, and Leanne popped in the link at the bottom. Okay, Rachael? Rachel is RachelCarman.com. And she has a Rachael Carman.com. Just want to make sure everybody gets that. Leanne has popped that one in.
Carman.
Yeah. Got all kinds of A's. Can you buy a vowel? And I'm in my homeschool mom, uniform today, ponytail, and the whole T-shirt. So some of you may not recognize me because I was all dressed up for the conference, but this is all through the week. This is how my kids recognize me.
That's
so
right.
If I dress up more than this, they know that it's not for homeschooling.
Yeah, I usually get the question, "Where are we going today, Mom?"
Where are you going? Yeah, I know, yeah.
They know it.
I'm supposed to be planning this week, so we'll see how that goes. I've got it all in my head swirling.
There you go. So
now I have to get it down.
So, and Leanne, will you pop in the Apologia blog when you get a moment? We'll pop that in over on the right too, because they actually have a blog over there. One of the things that I wanted to end with was we were talking about a lifestyle, about homeschooling being a lifestyle, and I don't know that everybody totally understands that. Can y'all spend 1 minute explaining what you mean by homeschool is a lifestyle?
Okay, so like I said a minute ago, just incorporate your children into your life. Go grocery shopping together, do household responsibilities together. It's just living life together. I think sometimes we want to extract school and go, okay, now we're going to do school.
Right, like
school. Yeah.
8 o'clock in the morning, the bell rings. It's time to start school.
Right. And I think if you develop a lifestyle of learning, then there's not, I don't think there's as high of a likelihood. I think it's greatly reduced that your kids will hate school.
Yeah. Because
you've enjoyed getting to know about the praying mantis that was on your front porch. You enjoyed learning why is a peach pit on the inside and some oranges you can get seedless, and why can't you get a peach seed? I mean, you can investigate these questions of life and you really enjoy. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't understand why strawberry seeds are on the outside and where does a carrot seed? And you can have all of these discussions in an enjoyable setting where you're investigating and learning together, and it's not drudgery and it's not regurgitation and it's not filling in circles. It's living life abundant.
I love to call it sparking their imagination.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just, trying to get them curious enough to want to go investigate, right?
Exactly.
So, okay, so we're going to hush for a second. We have a few people out here. It's still really early. Y'all know it's really early for me. But if y'all have any questions, pop them in over on the right and we'll answer them. And if not, be sure that just tells us that we answered everything already. We're going to.
I love that perspective. Yes.
Clearly, and a lot of times they're a little bit shy. Amanda, earlier, she popped in a couple of comments. I wanted to laugh about them. She said, "My pastor has always said his home is a loving dictatorship."
Yes, very good. Very good.
So, very good. That's exactly what it is. So, okay, so there's no questions popping in. So we did good, y'all. Yay!
Thank you so much for having us. Everybody have a great day.
It is always great to have y'all. Thank you so much for coming in and encouraging moms and helping giving us a perspective that sometimes we forget. We need to remember that we need to put God first before everything. So thank you.
It was good to see you, Leanne.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I had some major technical issues this morning.
I understand. It was good to see you.
She not only has y'all be praying for her husband. Something happened last night. You want to share? Is that hang on? We're going to say bye here. I'm going to pause. I want to get off the recording, so this isn't there. But thank you so much for being here, we'll have a party tonight over in Hip Homeschool Moms Community. So if y'all want to hang out with us a little bit more, Rachael and Davis are going to be in the house in the community tonight. So join us there. It'll be 8 Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. So y'all have a great day, and we will talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.